Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Misty.
I am Misty Luminais. I'm here with Lady Red Joy. We're doing a community researcher interview for the Voicing in Action project. Today is October 14th, 2014, and we are at Case Western Reserve University's campus. So, we're going to start with something pretty broad. Can you tell me about your experience with the Voicing in Action project?
First of all, it's been a wonderful opportunity to be able to interview the residents, past and present, with East Cleveland and their experience and their livelihood, raising their family, just being a part of East Cleveland, the reasons that they moved to East Cleveland or why they still standing in East Cleveland. It was definitely an eye-opening for me to learn it, and it was an enrichment for me to see how people love it, live in it, and play here. So it's definitely been rewarding for me and to interview the business, the pastors, the residents, and some of the young people and their richness that they had to offer. And I also would like to add with the interviews, my knowledge of East Cleveland was definitely a wonderful experience, things that I knew, some things that I confirmed, some things that was brand new to me, and also things to think about, the past, present, and the future of East Cleveland, and see the direction it has been and in the direction it's going into.
Mm-hmm. And how did you feel about your involvement with the program, like from the time that we had training until now?
First of all, just the thrill and the bubbliness of Dr. Rhonda Williams, her vision, her mission, and her goals to have the Voice in Action project. It was just a wonderful feeling, and I felt the passion and wanted to be a part of the Voice in Action project. And I was just so excited at that time and presently now still feeling the energy, the vision that came to light. And also I wanted to say at that time I didn't know what to expect, but I just knew I wanted to be a part. I wanted to be a part of just the name East Cleveland, wanted to be a part of what Dr. Rhonda Williams was doing, and also I wanted to be a part of Case Western Reserve, something that Case Western was reserved. The name itself made a big impact on me, and I wanted to just be able to do my best, show the best of East Cleveland, and bring the best out of East Cleveland.
Wonderful. So, how has your perception of the community changed due to your involvement with the project?
The perception changed because talking to the variety of different people, age, race, and their different careers gave me a different perspective as to the past, the future, and the present. And it changed because I was a little bitty girl, knee-high to a duck, coming to East Cleveland, and also coming back as an adult. I can see the difference in East Cleveland and the part that I missed, the interviews that I had an opportunity to project, filled in a lot of the 30-year gap that I was missing. So that was definitely rewarding. And to talk about the history of the different sides of East Cleveland, meaning the different areas, the schools, the churches, the businesses, it brought me to a different perspective, a feeling perspective that in 30 years made a big difference and a gap. And to have that fulfilled, it wouldn't have never occurred without me being a part of the voicing and action and interviewing.
So how do you feel about East Cleveland as a community now?
Now I feel the hope is still there. The intuition of a vision is still there. The people who been fighting for decades is still on the ground and willing to bring it back up to, at one point, it used to be one of the best suburbs in the United States. And it's just so rewarding to still have the soldiers on the ground who are willing to march, band, and stick together for something that they feel that is still a part of them, and they raise their families and still a part of it. And now that they're seniors, still can reach out and touch some of their neighbors and businesses and their families and friends.
So was there anything that you were surprised to learn about East Cleveland since you knew it as a child and then you left for a while? When you came back, was there anything that surprised you?
To me, the government part of it, I didn't know much as being a child about the government part of it. Only part that I knew was as an adult as the mayors and the council people. So the three areas that was very surprising to me is the government part of it, that it was a different structure government, number one. Number two, the big businesses at one point that was in East Cleveland, meaning the car dealership, the movie theater, and the skating rings. I didn't know that. Also, I wasn't aware of the schools in East Cleveland, how they used to have a swimming pool in Shaw area, and the richness of East Cleveland. I just knew the neighborhoods, but not the outsides of it, the outskirts and outsides.
Good. So what skills have you learned?
Being on the Voicing and Action project skills, first of all, I've learned how to respect the anchor people when I watch the news, how they interview, number one. Number two, I wanted to say that the interviewing enriched my ability to ask good quality questions: the who, the what, the when, the how, and the why. And also, when I first started, Dr. Rhonda mentioned about bit by the bug. I didn't know that term and what it meant. And she mentioned that you have been bit by the bug when your interviews are enriched and they have you so engaged. For an example, BK and I, we did an interview with Judge Dawson.
BK is Brandon King.
Brandon King. And Brandon King and I, we partner up. We was a dream team for 2.5 years on the Voicing and Action project. So BK and I, Brandon King and I, interviewed Judge Dawson, and we interviewed Art McCoy the same day. And I took the lead as the interviewer. And after the interview, I still felt fired up because both of them was very engaged in the interview. They both brought a sense of urgency, like we need to do something now for East Cleveland. They both was high energy people, and they both had a vision, a plan, and a goal. So I did the 2 interviews like I normally do. And at night, I usually come home, get me something to eat, relax, and just unwind. But those 2 interviews did not go that way. I came home, I did what I normally do because I had a structure plan what I do every night after the interviews just to unwind. So once I relax and calm down, and I usually, when my head hit the bed, I usually be asleep and I'm out of. But this time I tossed and I turned, I tossed and I turned, I tossed and I said, you know what? I've been bit by the bug, like Dr. Rhonda said, bit by the bug. That means you're so engaged in the interview, you're so fired up, the interview went so well that it's still in your system. So I called her the next day. I said, Dr. Rhonda, I've been bit by the bug. And I had at least about 7 interviews prior, but I never did powerful interviews back to back. So it took me about 4 hours to relax. And I knew I was bit by the bug. It was so in my system, and thoughts going in my head, and just to feel the energy and the power, and just to knowing that it's still hope, and it's still hope alive for East Cleveland.
So you said that you've enriched your interview skills. What about camera skills? Have you learned camera skills?
The camera skills was just awesome. I know and continue to learn about how to get the best picture when I'm interviewing. I've learned how to get the best audio sound and the best background, and what works and doesn't work, the inside, the outside of the camera, or interviewing inside the building compared to outside the building, the noise control. I've learned how to ask more questions in the interview, how to take a piece of a part of a question that we're asking the person to get more involved, get deeper involved. What do you mean by that? Can you give me an example? What was your experience? How do you feel now? To bring out the best of the interview and not just a surface question. You have to get real deep into the question to bring out the best.
And what about your analytical skills? I know that you had a really keen mind when you came to the project, but do you feel like our monthly meetings when we get together and review the tapes and talk about different ways that people's personal experiences relate to larger structures, like, do you feel like you're able to make those connections easier, or that the way that you analyze situations, do you feel like that has changed over the course of the project?
Well, coming to the meeting has just been a whirlwind of information. I couldn't have agreed or kept the pace without coming to the monthly meetings. The monthly meetings was very rewarding because you got a perspective from other people interviewed. So we piggybacked on each other, what worked and what didn't work throughout the process. We had an opportunity to say our experience, what should happen, what do you expect, how to get the best out the interview, how to hone in on getting the person to actually even have the interview, what we need to do, what works and doesn't work. And each time got better and better and better. And without the monthly meeting, it could have been a disaster, in my opinion. And coming together, it just kept the mold and the fire and the furnace just burning. It's just like a snowball effect. It just kept getting bigger, better, sweeter, greater, and it became a family to me.
That's wonderful to hear.
Thanks.
So I'm particularly interested, this question is for you in particular. How do you prepare for an interview?
First of all, I have to say I teamed up. And to me, I have to start with the team, which was BK and I, Brandon King and I. We teamed up. And I would recommend that to people to team up because it worked out wonderfully. So I can't really just say I have to say we, and I'll start off with the we part. With me and BK teaming up together, it worked out. Now, sometimes it was a good, bad, and an ugly part to it too. But all in all, we coordinated our schedules. We split our duties down the middle. He had a part, I had a part, so we knew our part. Now, from time to time, I had to help him when our interviews did not go well, meaning that they canceled at the last minute, or was a no-show, or we couldn't find them, or they were running late. We still had to continue our day. But to prepare personally, what I did was mentally I prepared, because it does take some energy to prepare for an interview, meaning that I made sure I had a good meal. I made sure I listened to a nice, calm, soothing music, Brazilian music, or some salsa or merengue, or some rhythm and blues or jazz. And then I always lit me a candle. That was my focus point. And then I prepared myself for the interview, because keep in mind, I'm not dealing with myself, I'm dealing with another person. Since we teamed up together, I had to keep my schedule together plus his schedule together, because I was the one that kept the calendar. So I had to make sure everything was balanced out. And a good thing that I would recommend is to have structured days. Like we did most of our interviews on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because that was the opening days that BK had, and my schedule was flexible since I had my own business. So we worked with each other to make sure everything went well. And another thing that helped me out is I had a rule of 72. I would call the person 72 hours, 48 hours, and 24 hours before the interview. So I did most of my work before the interview so we can make sure we kept engaged. Also, I had to email or either call BK to confirm the time and the hour. And most of the time, we had certain times that we gave the interview structure time. So we had Tuesdays and Thursdays. We used to have a 10 and a 2 appointment. So we did have structured times and hours. I think that is great, because I notice if you don't have structure, people will have you all over the place. And you want to go with a positive attitude, a lot of energy, and the respect for the project. If not, you go in with your head running, twisting, and with a bad disposition, and you do not want that to come across in the interview.
So I know you were a powerhouse. You got your interviews done really quickly. And then, like, towards the middle of your interviews, we had to ask you to slow down a little bit, to just do 2 a week rather than the 4 that you were aiming for.
Yes.
Do you feel like you were able to get more out of the interviews when you slowed down a little bit?
I would say from going from 3 a week, 3 a day, to actually 1 a day or 2 a day, I felt that it was more quality involved in it. It was more quality involved in it, and I didn't feel rushed, but I think the interviews were more quality, the length part of it, and the different perspective. You had more time to ask more deeper involved questions spend more time on one question instead of feeling like you have to get to the next question and get done on a quicker, faster, rushy type of way.
Okay. So, and did you use the biographical sheet with your interviewees?
I did, to see what their history was. That was very helpful, and to keep structure involved. Structure is very important when you're interviewing a person. You want to have more structure, and then allowing things to just go by the seat of the pants is not quality. Structure was very important for me.
Okay. So, how does the setting of the interview impact the work?
Meaning?
You interview people in many different settings, sometimes
Okay.
in their home, sometimes at their work, sometimes at BK's work. How do you feel like, do you feel people were more comfortable in one setting or the other? Or were people, was there less noise in one place or the other, lighting? How do you think that where you interviewed, how that impacted how people responded?
I think the response from the interview was well when you were in that comfort zone. Comfort zone is very important for a person who wants to open up and tell more. I noticed that. But I had the interviewer to pick their choice of location in most cases, but we did have stationary places that they can interview. But personally, I'd rather interview them in their comfort zone. So it was equally a good interview inside the residence compared to being at a business, compared to being outside. I didn't see that was a big effect or experience that I would not use or change. I think wherever they feel comfortable and relaxed, you get more out of it when they do the choosing.
And did you ever have to worry about logistical stuff like the lighting or the noise or anything?
Those was always an issue. The lighting was always an issue. I remember several times when we first started out concerning the lighting, the reflection of the person's skin, the lighting of their environment, and also the noise of the background, either the voices, the traffic, the music, the neighbors, the community made a big difference. Sometimes that can overwhelm the interview, and we had to stop and regroup. And also with the person being comfortable, taking breaks or saying that is the voice projection is starting to drop. So all those are very good points to always consider.
Okay. So you talked about the most surprising thing about East Cleveland, but what has been the most surprising and or challenging aspect of doing the work of doing the work of interviewing people and being a participant and being a community researcher?
Okay. First of all, it was surprising, and then I'll do the challenging part. It was surprising to me, being a female, the males that I interview got personal with me. For an example, a couple of them, I don't know what they were thinking when we said interview. They thought it was going to be something else, I think, in their mind. But I was very, very clear on what I stated, that this is about your experience, past and present, and we just want to get your oral experience of living in East Cleveland, the past or present. And a couple of times being with BK and I going to one of the interviews, male house, they were surprised to see that I came with a man. So I don't know if they thought I was going to come by myself and interview. And that happened several times. And also it happened that one of the tapings that we had an opportunity to do, the person called me back and wanted to do more. And I said, we don't do this. It's not a personal. This is about business and about your experience. So I was saying, be careful on that part and be careful of the safety of it. If you're going to go by yourself with a male that you're not familiar with or not comfortable with, talking on the phone, interviewing, make sure it's either partner up with someone, which I think is wonderful, or be in a public place. Mm. That was my recommendations. The challenging part of it, it was and is to this day, is to keep people engaged and committed to what they signed up for. Meaning you told them, you confirmed with them, you in constant communication with them, let them know we're still going to interview, even if it's not the 42-hour structure that I mentioned earlier. Still call them if they reschedule to let them know, well, we're still excited about you, want to be a part of something in the East Cleveland area and with the Voicing in Action project. Are you still interested? Yes, we're still interested. Or sometimes they say, well, I changed my mind. So if you keep them engaged within a weekly time frame, I think that was one of the challenges. The other challenge is getting the interviews. What place is the best place to get the interviewers to commit? And it wasn't one place over another place, meaning like going to events within East Cleveland, you have a greater success. At the city council meeting, in a public place, public events, because there's always something going on. And do as many recruitment as needed, because eventually you will need more than expect because of people going to drop off or cancel or change their mind. But all in all, I would say it was something doing the interviews was priceless. It just still get me in a wonderful mood just thinking about it and continue to come and be a part of it.
So how did what you actually do differ from what you thought you would be doing at the beginning?
First of all, I thought that we would just ask basic general questions like, for an example, you live in East Cleveland, what you doing now, how has it changed? Just simple on the surface questions. But after the fact, we did more complex questions to get the most value out of the interview. So the backtrack, I thought we was just going to do basic elementary questions, but we was doing PhD interviews. I thought that we would just do residential, but we did a variety of different people and different walks of life. And also, I was under the impression it was just going to be interviews just with a recorder, an audio recorder. I didn't understand the visual with the taping, which is it just brings it to a whole nother level. And also, it's just from the first day that one of NOR people told me about it, Mrs. Deetra teach out brought it to my attention, I still feel fired up about it and always ready to go.
So you came to the project through NOAA.
Correct. One of the NOAA employees told me about it, the project. She said, Lady Red, you always doing and talking to people and live in East Cleveland. I think you would be a good candidate for this project that Dr. Rhonda is projecting or starting. And she said it was with Case Western Reserve. I said, say no more. Give me the paper and sign me up. So it's been very rewarding and definitely something that I will treasure in a lifetime.
So you in particular have had some health challenges. How do you feel? Do you feel like you've been able to come back after you've been away? Do you feel like that was easy to come back to the project after you had to take some time off for your health? Or do you feel like that was kind of a struggle?
Well, first of all, this is my second time having health issues. The first time, even during the health challenges, I still did my interviews. So I was thankful for doing that because I was committed and I was in it to win it. So I did continue. But after my health challenges got severe, I did take a moment off because I wanted to be 100% and be present. So I had to take a pause for the cause. So then I came back and it was definitely rewarding and picked back up where I left off. But the energy and the people were still the same, willing to pick back up. And some of them, which the ones who committed for the interviewing, wanted to wait a certain period because everybody may say yes, but they wanted to wait for a little while because some of them had to ask others to see how they felt about it, get her approval. So those was my backdrop people. So I picked them up and interviewed them. So it was definitely seemed like I never got off track.
Absolutely. And do you feel like we were able to keep you in the loop even when you weren't able to make the meetings?
Thanks to Dr. Misty, she did. I was not by a computer. So I know I talked her ear off and she kept me in the loop, and I explained my situation that I'm not near a computer, and you kept me engaged over the telephone what I need to do, what I should be looking for, what our next steps are, and also during the time working with the Dream Team, BK, he took a pause too. He never continued without me, so we definitely kept involved, and he knew, so he stopped when I stopped, so we was in it together. So I would call him and say, well, I'm ready to get back. How you looking? So since I took the calendar and had the schedule, I knew it was on the book. So I never missed a step. So I connected the dots and keeping involved in the office, plus keeping involved in BK, plus keeping involved with my list of potential people that I was interviewing. Even on my sick bed, I told them what was going on. So no surprises and no dropping the ball. So we kept it moving, which was great.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So would you encourage other people to participate in a project like this?
Absolutely. Every day I'm the voice in action marketing walking advocate. So it's definitely has been an eye-opener for me that I can use the experience the rest of my life. Like I said, it has changed the way I look at people interviewing. Oprah Winfrey, Barbara Walters, the anchor, the news anchors, the people who does interviewing on a regular basis. I love to watch and listen, and I love to Larry King show. I said, oh, that should be a follow-up question. Oh, I learned that in our class. We should be a follow-up question. No, he should have said it this way. He would have got more if he would have said it that way. Oh, that's something that he should come back a little later on. They got excited over this question. Maybe we should stay there. He should stay there for a minute. So it's definitely something that I'm critiquing on a regular basis. So it's definitely a part of my lifestyle now.
And what advice would you have for future community researchers?
To first of all, take the opportunity to learn a valuable skill. Also, give it a try to be able to bring out the best in a person when you're interviewing them. When you're talking to them, you can learn how to network, interview, learn how to use the best equipment, being around the biggest, the brightest, the best in the industry. Learn how to interview from different perspectives and getting the most out of your questions, and also be engaged. Be engaged to let people know that you are concerned. You want to bring out something that people are looking for, meaning a change, a mission, a vision, something that's projective, and an emotion from a person. So an interview brings out all those qualities.
And what about the time? Like, did you feel like the amount of time that, like, this project has gone on much longer than we expected?
Okay.
And most of the interviews last longer than we expected. Did you feel like the time expectation was too different? And would you recommend, how would you recommend a new researcher prepare for the kind of time commitment that it is?
Meaning the 90 minutes at most?
Well, the 90 minutes or the 2.5 years.
Okay. First of all, when you're doing a vision, like the Voicing in Action, and it's a new project, a pilot project, I wouldn't have put a time frame on it. You can put a time frame in black and white, but you never can tell when you're dealing with people. And with the time frame, it was needed and could continue to go on to overlap with other perspectives. So for the answer to the question, the 90 minutes, I think, is a good structure frame to get a quality interview, because some of the parts you may or may not be able to use. So you always want more than less. The other concern is a project going on for the length of time. I would have expected that to go on more since it was a pilot program. The next time we'll have it tighter, right, and also more things to give to the next Voicing in Action family. So we can actually move on to other areas and be able to get everything what we need in a shorter, quicker, faster way.
Okay. We're going to shift gears a little bit. How do you define social justice?
Social justice to me is the equal equality of work, play, and live. To be able to be socially involved with one another and learning the needs of each other.
So, who do you think is treated unequally now?
The most, I wouldn't say unequally as a whole, I would say the most, meaning women, people of color, and seniors.
And how can keeping in mind social justice help us help those people?
First of all, keeping it to the forefront, number one. Number two is just keeping it as an open mind, to keeping it as a conversational table topic. Three, keeping it as a valuable social need that is definitely a need for change. And also to let people know we have been able to do bits and pieces, but we really haven't arrived as a whole like it could and should be.
So, how has your definition of social justice changed because of the project?
I feel like with the project coming to life, being in the community, people can come together and state how I feel as an individual. Other people feel the same way that I feel. First. Second of all, some people may not be able to express themselves as much as they could and should, as others can express themselves very well. And it just bring them to a point that this is the way I want to say it. This is the way I want to do. And also it states that it's still, hope is still alive. It still can be a world that we can all live in. And in closing, to feel that someone else cares and it's just not my imagination.
So, thinking back though to your definition of social justice, that it's the equality of work, play, and living, do you feel like that definition has changed at all because you've been part of the project? Like as we go through our monthly meetings and we talk about social justice and what that means to us, do you feel like you've been able to further develop your own definition, or do you feel like it's changed significantly?
I feel that what I bring home or take away piece every meeting is an experience to me that I learn something new. I can use what I've learned and to identify what is happening. Because if you don't know something is happening, you don't know how to identify. You just take it as a day-to-day okay situation. But now that I can identify, I use it to learn more, do more research, and identify with things that could be done better, easier, or define it more.
Okay, great. So, can you explain the ways that we all learned about social justice together?
The ways of coming together for the meetings that, for an example, Case Western Reserve has different events that we come together which is great. The other concern is we just don't focus in on the university. We collaborate with others that has passion about bringing a change to the community. And we just don't talk about it. We have group sessions. We have meetings of the minds. We bring experts to talk to us from the community, from the neighborhood, and from out of town, saying that not just a certain segment of the city, that this is happening in other parts of the United States.
So when you're talking about the events, are you talking about the correct training that we had, or are you talking about the larger social justice institute events like the think tank or race food justice?
Both. I'm talking about things that bring us together as one to see if we can solve a problem. We know it's a problem. See if we can solve a problem and get different perspective, and just doing bite size of an issue that we know that needs to be addressed as a broad.
Okay. And do you think this kind of project where we collect oral life narratives is important or useful for social justice work?
No question, because you're getting the common man and woman, the common working class. You're getting the everyday people who are out in the streets that are being effective or have been in certain points or period in their lives that is something that needs to be brought to the forefront.
So I was thinking, you were interviewed by Shai pretty early in the project. Do you feel like that experience made you a better interviewer?
I feel that I wanted to be interviewed early because I didn't want to be able to take other people's answers instead of my own. So that was my choice, to be interviewed early, because I wanted to keep my thoughts. And I felt that when I interview so many people, I'll start using other people's words, and I didn't want to do that. Their words overshadow me, and I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to be able to use my own words, my own feelings, and my own emotions.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like it gave you any insight into how people felt when they were being interviewed?
Oh, yes, because I was on the opposite side of the desk. So it's always a different perspective, and you can see how they felt and answering the questions and what made you sit up and what made you relax and what made you trigger your thoughts.
Okay. So do you feel more empowered?
No question. I'm seem like I've been to college the last 2.5 years and looking for my PhD degree.
So can you give me some examples of how you feel empowered?
I feel empowered because I can ask deep and probing question on the big why, the why. I feel that I can look and see has there been any changes. I feel that I can be able to not see or feel sense of need or urgency with the powers to be. I feel that, do they really understand? Do they really want to change? Do they really want to listen and be a part of this revolutionary not new, but valuable, equal, and not separate?
So what impact do you think the project has had on the participants in the community?
First of all, they feel that someone had a vision enough to care, that Dr. Rhonda and the Voicing in Action and CASE care. The other concern is someone want to listen to my side, my views, my perspective, want to come to my side of the world. Also, they felt that this can be a cutting edge, something that I'm saying or doing could impact more than just myself. It can impact my neighbors, my community. And personally, I just felt and kind of angry. I wish I would have thought about this for my family 25 years ago, because it's just so awesome. And I just use it in my everyday walk of life. So I just don't take it as something that is limited. It's so broad to me.
So how do you feel like it's impacted the community researchers as a group?
First of all, we're a family now. We're sharing something that is of value. We're getting to know people that we wouldn't know or just had an opportunity to see them in passing. You get a chance to really get deeply involved and saying that, wow, we can connect in certain areas. We just talked in passing. We just talked over a cup of coffee or a elevator conversation. They really feel this way or felt this way for a long period of time. So I feel that I have bonded with some people. When I see or hear or read about, I get so excited. And for an example, Mr. Art McCoy has a university show on the radio every Sunday. He mentioned that in the interview with me when I had him. He said that was one of his projections. So I was so excited that it came to life. And Judge Dawson is just doing some awesome things in East Cleveland. And he spoke about that. And now everybody knows. And it's not a top secret. It's something that people can be a part of. And there's a need. And with me interviewing him, I can pass the word along also.
Mm-hmm. So this is the last question. How would you change or improve the project?
I'll go with changing first. And I have to always say the three things. Three things I would start off and putting people together, either 2 or 3 together. I would challenge the groups, if I can call them groups. I'd rather use another word than groups. I'd rather use colors or let the group define their own titles to keep people engaged with each other. The second concern is I would have the groups to meet outside of our broad monthly meetings. And another change I would have and go out in the community and go door to door and have flyers put under everybody doorstep, or door knockers, and not just limit to our group of people. Let everybody have an opportunity to be a part, call in.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about this idea of splitting people into groups. Like, even when we had the most community researchers, we were working with like 12 people.
Okay.
What do you think people would get out of meeting in smaller groups? Because I want to think about, like, everyone has their own commitments. Like, you have your own business, other people work. So I was trying to find a balance between meeting often enough to keep all the community researchers engaged, but not meeting so much that it was kind of a burden. So if you wanted to meet people, if you wanted people to meet in smaller groups, what is it that you would see them getting out of that would justify them having another meeting to go to?
Well, first of all, I think team participation is a beautiful thing, because you're not just worrying about or concerned about what you're doing. You're concerned about what we're doing. It's not all about me. It's all about we. And I felt that even with BK and I working together, we balanced each other. We encouraged each other. We kept each other on track. I would tell him what happened. He'd tell me what happened. Even if one of us missed the meeting, we can keep each other abreast of what's going on. And being in a team just keep you molded together. If one person can't help out for an example, working the camera, you can go with your teammate. You don't have to spend time calling around and asking so much. You have a group that you know each other. You know what their strengths and weaknesses are. And also you'll be able to say, okay, your interview didn't show up, or no call, to keep them still excited about the project. To me, and I heard and listened to other people who was working on their own, they got frustrated. Even a couple of the Voicing and Action family, I had to talk to them to encourage them to continue, because several of them was going to drop out. But I said, if I need to help you, I will. If I need to tell you some helpful hints that BK and I are doing, I will, because we was on a road together. We was doing a lot together and doing a lot of interviews together. And then with the team, you can see which one the team person like certain parts. Because I enjoy keeping our calendar together, because I wanted to know what's going on. BK liked to be out and about and know East Cleveland, the streets that I didn't know. So he did the consent form, dropped them off, for an example. I confirmed the 72, 42, and 24 hours. He would be able to pick them up if they need to, or drop them off if they need to, or if they needed something extra. He did all the transportation part. I did all the coordination part. So with splitting it in half, our obligation made a world of difference. And it may have something to do because I'm accustomed to being in a team and doing marketing, which my field and my degree in my business was marketing. So I'm accustomed to working with a team. And then I work sales. I used to sell cars, and we had to come together. So I sold cars like candy bars, so we had to work together. To me, that's bring on extra energy, extra strength for each other.
I just feel like that kind of encouragement happened organically, that when people were feeling down, you had the chance to kind of help them through that.
Yes.
And so I'm just a little nervous that if we made it like you guys are in team 1, you're in team 2, or whatever you call the groups, that kind of interaction, like, they might just rely just on their team and not think, well, Lady Red's a really good inspiration, let me go to her. And so, I mean, because we really have a core of like 10 or 11 people that have stuck with us the whole time. And I feel like maybe if we had started out with smaller groups, that people might not have felt that they could go to you in the ways that they did. So I hear what you're saying, and I think that we'll think about it. But at the same time, like, I don't feel like our group was so big that people couldn't make those relationships. Like, you and Brandon found each other and found that you could work together and balance each other out. And that might not have happened if we had assigned you with Pamela and Nancy. Like, you may not have found that you worked really well with Brandon. You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, actually, Dr. Rhonda recommended that BK and I connect.
Okay.
So she suggested we connect. I didn't know him and he didn't know me. But then we start working together.
Mm-hmm.
But we split the obligations down the middle, that I felt that he would be good at this part or I'll be good at this part. And then we always had to agree.
Mm-hmm.
Now, certain times now, it got deep between BK and I. Now, I ain't gonna say it always been rosy, but all in all, we got along together and we came together.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a good time together. And I don't think I would have done it any other way. If it wasn't with him, I still would have wanted to work with somebody else as a close knit. So I think that should have been a obligation and a choice throughout our Voice in Action family, that the people know if they wanted to team up, or the ones that Dr. Rhonda, Dr. Misty felt that would be able to get together and make an amend as a team.
Okay. And how would you improve the project?
Have more people on the outside participate, not just our limited circle. I would have broadened it to, I had mentioned earlier, give the residents, the business owners, a flyer. Also, I think that we should consider a radio spot on the radio, telling and keeping people engaged, because you can reach more people and they can listen in and be a part of the action. My other concern is I would love to see the Voice in Action have a clip, a video on our website with live cam recordings of bits and pieces of the project up on the website.
Okay. Have you seen our website lately? Because we have the pieces of the interview, so not necessarily like, I know you and Brandon did some kind of like showing people what goes on for an interview.
Yes.
But we do on our website have clips from interviews on there, so that you can go on there and watch.
The ones that I saw was clips from another project. But to answer the question, have I seen it lately, like the last 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
I remember going on it, but I didn't see the clips of the interview.
Oh, okay. They're there. As part of the Community Dialogues media.
So anyone can go on there. Can you give, for the record, the website?
It is www.case.edu/social justice. And if you look under the Voicing in Action Project, there's a media tab.
Okay. So will that, the three questions in that perspective are, will those interviews be updated at one point?
As we go forward, they'll probably change some of them. We'll keep the ones that we have up there. But then as we look at like possibly turning things into a documentary, we might extract different types of questions, yeah.
And is there a place where people can ask questions, or Is there improvement? It's one of the improvement. I think on our website we should have a interaction part where a person want to get involved, they could.
Yes, we do have that now. That was just added.
So those new things that they can get involved if they want to be a part of it.
If they want to be part of the Social Justice Institute, we're wrapping up the interviews right now, so we're not asking people to be involved with the Voicing in Action project.
Okay. And another thing I wanted to add to improve, to get people to volunteer.
Mm-hmm. How so?
To volunteer for example, even if they give recommendations of people that they felt that would have a good voice in the future, past, present, and get involved in that area to interview. The second concern is be a part of helping us with the things that we're doing now, that, for an example, keeping us abreast of events that are going on. Be a observer for us. And just a community think tank of volunteers that are up and coming.
I feel that's what you guys are. I think that you guys are a think tank.
No, from a different perspective.
Yeah.
From a different perspective. We're doing a wonderful job in our family, but we can always have people to help us.
Absolutely. And how do you feel about the feedback process? Like when you would turn in an interview, how did you feel about the amount of time that it took and like the kinds of feedback that you got?
From each interview, we had to come in the office to do feedback on.
Mm-hmm.
The feedback was absolutely fabulous because for me, it gave me a different perspective to be sharper in my interviews. And I noticed the last 4 or 5 interviews that I had an opportunity to do, I was in a better position. And with the feedback, not just being critical, it was all for a good point to make you a better interview, and not just to do a one-on-one across the desk saying what you're not doing. We actually did a one-on-one to sit and watch the interview together. And not just hearing, but actually seeing.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's all my questions. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
I do. I wanted to say in closing, this has really been an eye-opener for me. The eye-opener in the perspective of Dr. Rhonda, her staff, Case Western Reserve, open up their doors to be able to be a part, and rewarding to even just be here at Case Western Reserve, and can say that I'm a proud part of Case Western Reserve as interviewing, and it looks good on my portfolio that I can always say, because communication is a well-needed, valuable tool that you can always use in my personal and private life. And also I can share with others a good quality conversational piece that I was a part of something that is on a comeback or was or still is a part of the big picture. And I can walk with pride to say this is something that I can look back and say I interviewed them for their feedback of a change that is well overdue and a long way coming, and someone else cared, and I'm a part of the caring and sharing team for the Voicing in Action project. So it has made me stronger, more wiser, and loving every moment of it.
Well, thank you for your participation. You've just been great to work with. I really enjoyed our time together.
Same here. This has been a wonderful ride. I had plenty of rides, but I have to say this has been one of the most rewarding rides since I've been back to Cleveland, to y'all lovely city.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.